For this class, we're gonna focus on seascapes. That's something I really enjoy, to get some cool waves and blue shades in the painting, and we're gonna use a broad brush to start out, and then we're gonna jump into using knives in different sizes to create nice shades of the waves and some structure to our painting. I just want to quickly talk about the basic tools that we're gonna be using in this class. So first of all, we're gonna have a canvas, and this is just a regular canvas that is used for acrylic or oil paints. So make sure you get that right when you're buying the canvas, because there are different kinds of them, and you have the ones for watercolor, which has a slicker surface to them, which means that the paint isn't going to stick as well. So make sure you get the right one. And we also need something to mix our colors on. So I used to have paper plates where I mixed my colors on, but the problem with that is it didn't look so cool when you were taking photos and videos of myself painting if I was holding a paper plate, right? So I got this professional thing here, right here. It looks a lot cooler, and it works great because it's a large area to mix your colors on. And for the brand, it doesn't really matter what brand you're using, as long as they blend well together, and most of them do. Last but not least, you need your cup of coffee, because everybody knows how important this is to the creative process, so don't forget this. And now let's get into the painting. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is, as I said in the first video, is I'm going to use a broad brush like this, and I'm going to use a few colors. It's going to be a blue, green, darker tone. Then I'm going to fill this whole thing up, and we're going to create some cool landscape scenes with that, hopefully. So let's start by mixing in some colors here. I have this, which is called Brilliant Blue, so that seems like it might be a good fit for this. So all I'm doing is just adding some a few dots of these colors, and this seems to be almost empty, so I need to buy more of these, obviously. Now you might think, why am I using a dirty palette here? Well, to me it doesn't really matter too much, since the background of this or this color that's already here, this green and blue one, is kind of similar to the one that we're gonna paint now. So even though it happens, it might mix into the new colors that I'm using here, it might actually give me some cool effect that I didn't even think of. And that's the beauty of painting, because you don't always know what will come out of your painting. And that's what I love about doing this, is to just pretty much surprise myself when I start painting. So I'm just gonna go over this really rough now and fill this canvas up with this brush. I'm not worrying too much about the different shades that are popping out here. So even though it might be a bit darker in the top, or it might be you know, brighter at the bottom or something like that, that doesn't really bother me at this point. All I'm trying to do here is to just fill up the canvas, and of course you always want to start with an idea in your head, kind of where you want the painting to go. And I already have that idea in my head, so I want this to be as similar to these in the backgrounds. I just love to paint ocean things and things related to the oceans, like waves and cool stuff like that. So that's what I'm gonna try and do here. And that obviously means it has a lot of blue in it. Actually, I'm just gonna add a bit more, so I don't have to open these up every single time. Let's mix these up. Might want to add some purple in here, not sure. I think this is going to be a different kind of blue. Yeah, you see that? It's really cool. Really cool, the different shades you get in painting like this. Kind of want to have a bit darker than this. I'm going to add more darkness to this painting. There we go. mix it in here. I guess everybody has their own style of painting. There's not one style that is correct. And I think that's one of the cool things with painting too, and art in general. You can't say that something is wrong and something is right, because it's up to the artists to decide whatever they want to do is going to be their style. And it's, I don't know, it's very relaxing to paint like this. And sometimes I just end up, I think, if I'm working on a painting and then I look at the clock when I'm starting, and then it ends up being midnight, or you know, way later than I thought it was going to be, because I was totally lost in the painting, and it didn't really time basically stands still sometimes when you're really into this. So the important thing here is to fill the canvas. That's what we want. The reason for that is when you have a completely white canvas, it might be intimidating sometimes, and you don't really know where to start. That's why I wanna break that by just filling everything up, and just so I have something to work on. And I think I need some more color here. So the idea that I have with this painting is we have obviously the sky here, and then we have the ocean here. Then we might want to try and add some ships in the horizon line here, and maybe fade out the horizon line and see how that is going to look. I think it's going to look really cool if we get it right. And add some more dark paint to this. And also this one, the brighter one, so you can see the color that I'm mixing right now. I think I'm gonna add some purple in there just to see what happens, because you never know. Might be some really cool effect that you didn't even think of. So I'm gonna add some purple right there. And I think that that's one of the main things to think about as well, is to just experiment a lot with different paints, and just see what comes out, and not take it too seriously, because painting is one of those things it's not serious at all. You should just aim to have a lot of fun and not try to make everything perfect. I think that's one of the main reasons why I love painting so much. So as you can see, I want to add some different tones to this bottom here, to the bottom part of this, because it is the ocean, and the ocean has a million shades of blue, and it also has a lot of waves. So those million shades of blue are going to be visible depending on where on the wave it is, if that makes sense. Where on the wave the light is hitting and so on. I'll fill in the white parts of the horizon as well, to have it kind of blend in with the sky. Let's see what this will do. This is gonna be interesting. Okay. Sure, why not? We can use that. Let's go back to the darker part. Add some darker areas in here. You see that? Just experiment with your strokes and see what comes out, and if you like it or not. If you don't like it, the beauty is you can always come back and paint over it with a different color or something. So you're not stuck to the strokes you already did. You can always change them as you go if you want to do that. So see if we have a bit more dark blue. It's a bit more, that's kind of purple, but I think it will work. Alright, so there we have the first layer that we just created. So we wanted to fill in the canvas so we have something to work with, and that's exactly what we did right here. So if you're following along in this class, that's the first step that you want to do. And from here we can start to think about the composition and what elements we want to put in here. And I think I'm gonna need more dark blue. I hope I have another tube here, because otherwise I'm kinda in a bad situation, because I really want to use that more. Let's see what this is. It's not as dark as I want it to be. I might even add some black in here further down the line. But what we want to do now is to jump into using the knives that I was showing you earlier to add some sharper waves and contrast to this painting. So thankfully I found a bit more of this really dark blue. So what I'm gonna do, I want to have it kind of like a silhouette around this. I want to have the focus being in this corner here. So I want this part of the painting to be just a bit darker than everything, all the elements that are going to be here. So that's where I'm gonna add some darker waves or strokes over here. We can even mix it in with some lighter shade if you want to do that. And sometimes you have to take a step back and look at what you're doing, so you have an idea of where to go next. But what I'm thinking about now is just the main idea that I have in my head, and how I want that to be visual, how I want to put that down on the canvas. And that, I think, is something that is that's totally unique for everybody to figure out what it is they want to do, and so on. There's no one answer that fits all when it comes to painting. So I would just go ahead and experiment with all of this and see what comes out. So now I'm gonna go in and start using this knife here. So what I'm doing here, I can show you exactly what I want to do. So I'm gonna add this lighter shade of blue right next to the dark one. And then I'm just gonna slide the knife like that and just squeeze them both down. So I'm squeezing the paint of both of those areas down, so I have this on my knife now. From here we can start to see what we how it looks basically when we slide this over the canvas. One main thing that you want to keep in mind here is you always want to have a sense of where the light source is and where the direction of the light is coming from. Look at that one, that's pretty cool. Random and cool, that's what I like. And just think about how waves behave and what they look like, and try to just visualize that by using knives. I think knives are very useful for this specific purpose, to create waves like this, because you have better control over the lines. And also, the further down the waves, the bigger they're going to be, And the reason for that is the further up the waves are, that means the further away from me they are. So I want to keep these waves that are closest to the camera or closest to our viewpoint. They're going to be larger and basically longer than the ones that are back here. So I'm going to use a smaller knife to create the waves over here. Alright, so what I want to do now is, before we start to go into the details of the waves, I want to add some darker areas to the horizon line and kind of define the horizon a bit more than what it is right now. And I'm doing that by adding some darker shade of blue again. Sometimes when I put a stroke and I think I look back at it and it looks like I screwed everything up, but that's kind of the fun part about this too, is that you never know what it's going to look like, and the thing is you can always go back and fix it. So right now I think I made that part right here, I made that a bit too dark or too, it just doesn't look good, so I'm gonna try and fix it. So what I do, I'm mixing some lighter shades here. As you can see, it's gonna look something like this. And go over it once again. All right, I think we're ready for the smaller knives. So I'm gonna go ahead and use, not that small maybe, use this one. This is a bit smaller than the first one that we used. And I want to have a darker shade right here. I don't know if we're gonna use a brush for that, maybe, to just create just a darker shade over the horizon. Let's see. Because when you think of it, the horizon sometimes, especially when you're out at sea, it blends in with the waves, so you don't really have a strong defining line where the horizon ends and where the sky begins. Just like he says in what's the movie? Forrest Gump. One of the best movies of all time, by the way. So I kind of want to have a smooth transition from the water to the sky. This again is all about experimenting and seeing what you like and what you don't like and so on. Let's see what this will do. All right, I think I'm done with the brush for now. So I'm gonna go back to using the larger knife again, and actually going to put some black in there. So I'm adding just a touch of black, mixing that with some blue, so it looks like that. And I want to see what I can do with this. Let's add some more light blue. I'm just going crazy with colors. Honestly, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just mixing a bunch of colors like this, just to see what comes out. I think this is gonna look a bit too dirty. So I'm gonna add just a touch of blue. All right. let's see how this is gonna turn out. The thing is, when you mix blue or black, it doesn't really make the color darker, it just makes it look dirty. I'm gonna go crazy with this anyway, because that's the whole point of painting. As long as it's a shade of blue, I am okay with it. So that's what I'm trying to get back to here, because it looks too, kind of too gray for my taste right now. So I want to get it back to trying to make it look more blue. Looks all right. I do want to add some lighter tones in there. You see, we're starting to get a lot of different shades of blues here, and that's exactly what we wanted when we started. We want to try and mix as many blues as possible, and thinking about where the light is coming from. So we have the light source being consistent, and in thinking about where the light parts of the waves are going to happen and so on. One good way to experiment with this as well is to try to adjust the pressure of your knife. The harder you press, pretty much the thicker you're gonna spread the paint, and the more you're gonna see the paint that's underneath it. You kind of don't want to overdo this too much either. So you want to stop when you feel like you have accomplished what it is you want to visualize. And I think I'm getting there slowly here. We wanted to create some ocean scene, and that's kind of what we did. I will add some white highlights right there. And for that, I'm using my 100% white color. And I'm gonna mix that with the light blue. There we go. And it looks like that. And then I'm just gonna smear these two together and add some highlights. So I'm always moving the knife horizontally here, and that's because that's the motion of the waves are horizontal. They're not gonna go straight towards you or something like that, since we're looking at it from this perspective. I'm gonna make a close-up of these waves when I'm done with them, so you can see what they look like from closer up, basically. Give you an idea of what it is I'm trying to visualize with these knives. I think I'm gonna move into using the smaller one right now, and I'm using this one, so the very small one. I'm gonna steal some paint from this bigger knife. You do want to keep some of these dark spots in here, even though this is the area that I want it to be the lighter area, because the darkness is gonna add these dark spots right here. They're gonna add some interesting contrast to your paintings. And I think contrast is one of those things that really makes a painting stand out from and give it depth, basically. So you want to keep that in mind to keep the darker areas as well. So I'm just adding white lines just randomly to give the waves, the top of the waves usually have some foam on them, right? So you want to kind of show that in one way or another, and the easiest way to do that is just make a white line that goes on top of the wave. This kind of make it looks like this is shallow water over here, and it's getting deeper and deeper because it's getting darker and darker over here. So it's kind of a cool thing. So I think I'm gonna call this done and end this class right here, since this is a beginner painting class for acrylic paint. So what we did here, we simply used two tools, two kind of brushes, if you want to call it that. So we used the knives, but we started out by using a big brush to cover the canvas, right, with blue, with the shade that we want to have as a main shade in this painting. And from there we basically just started to use the knife to create the waves. The further down we go, the closer the waves are going to be, which means that the larger the waves, so the larger the knife we need to use. And the further up we go, we made more details here with the smaller knife. So that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this short class. My name is Marwan Bambley, and I will see you next time. Take it easy.